Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai.
Jai.
Vrindavan Dham ki jai.
Jai.
Navadvip Mayapur Dham ki jai.
Jai.
Ganga Mai ki jai.
Jai.
Jamuna Mai ki jai.
Jai.
Tulsi Devi ki jai.
Jai.
Bhakti Devi ki jai.
Jai.
Shamaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.
Jai.
Gaur Prem Anande.
Jai.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glory to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Bol.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutare Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Shami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Does anybody know the translation of the song we sang without going back to it? Parama Karuna Pahu Dvijana Nitai Gaura Chandra. At least the first line. Shab Avatar Shar Shiramani Kevala Ananda Kanda. Please, please. Someone? Nobody?
Parama Karuna means most munificent, most kind. Bahuduvijana, the two people.
Yes.
Of all the avatars, sub-avatar, Sarsiramani, of all the avatars, the most kind.
What does Shiramani mean?
Crest jewel?
Yes. Shir, money is jewel and Shir is the head. Yeah, top jewel. The crown jewel. Kevala Ananda Kanda, because they're giving a process of self-realization that's happy, fun. The decision was made to not chant responsively on these prayers because it becomes a little bit chaotic when there's nobody, because of the delay in the Zoom. You know that? On the other hand, you could say, well, a blind uncle is better than no uncle. At least people are chanting, and that's good. So I don't know if I have choice, but I'm happy with everybody chanting if they don't mind. Anyone who wants to chant, I'll say that.
Next Wednesday,
What's that?
Next Wednesday, we can do that. You do have a choice, Prabhu.
Okay, good. Thank you. This kirtan. And I'd like to take a moment to welcome Bhakta Bab back. He's here. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
You bet. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
We're reading Sri Caitanya Caritamrita Adi Leela, and we're at the branches of Advaita Charya. Here we are, text number 13. Our regular Bengali chanter isn't here. Mother Kavita is Mother Sutapa Chattopadhyay. Would you like to chant this Bengali?
Achyutananda Barashakha Acharya Nandan Ajanmo Shepilate Ho Chaitanya Charan.
Very nice, thank you. Bodho Shaka. Bodho Shaka, big branch. A big branch of Advaita Acharya was his son, Achyutananda. from the beginning of his life, he engaged in the service of the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya.
চৈতন্য গোসাইয়ের গুরু কেশব ভারতী এই পিতার বাক্য শুনি দুঃখ পাইল অতি।
When Achyutananda heard from his father that Keshava Bharati was the spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was very unhappy.
জগৎ গুরুতে তুমি কহো যে উপদেশ তোমার এই উপদেশে নষ্ট হইল দেশ।
He told his father, your instruction that Keshava Bharati is the spiritual master of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will spoil the entire country.
চৌদ্দ ভুবনের গুরু চৈতন্য গোসাই তার গুরু অন্য এই কোন শাস্ত্রে নাই।
Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the spiritual master of the 14 worlds. But you say that someone else is a spiritual master. This is not supported by any revealed scriptures.
পঞ্চম বর্ষের বালক কহে সিদ্ধান্তের সার শুনিয়া পাইল আচার্য সন্তোষ অপার।
When Advaita Acharya heard this statement from his 5-year-old son, Achyutananda, he felt great satisfaction because of his conclusive judgment. Purport. Oh, this is a long purport. And I'd like you to pay special attention. There's a few things, points in here that are a little confusing. So we'll see what we can do. Purport. Commenting on verse 13 through 17, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives an extensive description of the descendants of Advaita Acharya. The Chaitanya Bhagavat, Antyakanda, chapter 1, states that Achyutananda was the eldest son of Advaita Acharya. The Sanskrit book Advaita Charita states, Advaita Acharya Prabhu had 3 sons who were devotees of Lord Chaitanya. Their names were Achyuta, Krishna Mishra, and Gopal Das. And they were all born of the womb of his wife Sita Devi. Advaita Acharya also had 3 more sons whose names were Balaram, Swarup, and Jagadish. Thus, there were 6 sons of Advaita Acharya. Among the 6 sons, 3 were strict followers of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and one of these 3, Achyutananda, was the eldest. Advaita Prabhu married in the beginning of the 15th century Shakabda, late 15th century AD. So, yeah, late 15th century. So he was already married at the time of Lord Chaitanya's appearance at 1486, yeah. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to visit the village of Ramkeli while going from Jagannath Puri to Vrindavan, during the Shakabda years 1433 and 1434, AD 1511 and 1512, Achyutananda was only 5 years old. The Chaitanya Bhagavat, Antyakanda, 4th chapter, describes Achyutananda at that time as Panchavarsha, Vayasa Madhur Digambara, only 5 years old and standing naked. Therefore, it is to be concluded that Achyutananda was born sometime in the year 1428 AD, 1428, that's Shaka era, AD 1506. Before the birth of Achyutananda, Advaita Prabhu's wife, Sita Devi, came to see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at his birth. Thus, it is not impossible that she had the three other sons by Advaita within the 21 years between 1407 and 1428 Shakabda, AD 1486 and 1507. In an unauthorized book of the name Sita Dvaita Charita, published in Bengali, in an unauthorized newspaper, Nityananda Dayini, in 1792 Shakabda, AD 1870, it is mentioned that Achyutananda was a class friend of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. According to Chaitanya Bhagavat, this statement is not at all valid. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the renounced order of sannyas in the year 1431, Shakabda, AD 1509, he came to the house of Advaita Prabhu at Shantipur. At that time, as stated in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Antyakanda, chapter 1, Achyutananda was only 3 years old. The Chaitanya Bhagavat further states that the naked child, the son of Advaita Prabhu, immediately came and fell down at the lotus feet of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Lord immediately took him on his lap, although he was not very clean, having dust all over his body. Lord Chaitanya said, "My dear Achyuta, Advaita Acharya is my father, and thus we are brothers." I'm going to break here just this time. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurin Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Gadamaikam Dadati Shapandantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There's these details about the sons of Advaita Acharya, and now specifically Achyutananda, the eldest of his devotee sons. So it's a little, to me, it was a little confusing. Did you understand this whole? Everybody understand this part? Who is the eldest son?
Achyutananda.
Who's that?
Achyutananda.
Okay, and when was he born?
1428.
Plus 78, 1506. Yeah, 70. There's 78 years between the Shaka era and the AD, Christian era. So 1506. Okay. So he's born in 1506, and then we read that it's not impossible that there were three other sons by Advaita Prabhu within the 21 years between 1407 and 1428. Right? We read that. So then how is it that Achyutananda is the oldest? You follow the question?
Yeah, because the other three sons were not Vaishnavas.
Okay. Was that's the understanding?
My limited understanding.
Let's look at the first paragraph. The Chaitanya Bhagavat, chapter 1, states that Achyutananda was the eldest son of Advaita Acharya. Oh, how's that? If there are three. Anybody else?
So what is this 6 sons after that?
The six sons were, we can recite the names of the three devotee sons: Achyutananda, Krishna Mishra, Gopal Das. Yeah. So those are the three devotee sons of Advaita Acharya. So, yeah, I think my understanding, and then it will be like you said, that Achyutananda was the oldest of the devotee sons, but if the other sons were born between the time of Lord Chaitanya's birth and the birth of Achyutananda, then they would be older. So, but it's not pointed out specifically here, perhaps because the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Srila Prabhupada doesn't want to contradict the Chaitanya Bhagavat, but he gives other additional information here. Does that make sense?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. Anyway, I just thought that was an interesting point. But Advaita Acharya's first devotee son, Achyutananda, was a very elevated devotee. Okay, so let's read back to the next point. Sometimes we have to take a little bit of research or study to make a sense of the purports. Not always. Then, is Shashi Shekhar there on the line? No? Maybe he's busy.
Yes, oh yes, Prabhu, I'm here. I'm in the temple with the devotees.
Okay, can you read there from
Yes,
before
Prabhu.
Sri Chaitanya?
Okay, this paragraph, or just all the
Before
way
Sri
through?
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited?
Yes. Okay, Hare Krishna. All the way through?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Okay, Hare Krishna. Before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited his spiritual forms during his residence at Navadvip, he asked Sri Ram Pandit, Srivas Thakur's brother, to go to Shantipur and bring back Advaita Acharya. Achyutananda joined his father at that time. It is said, Advaitara Kanaya Achyutananda Nam Parama Balaka Seho Kande Aviram. Achyutananda also joined in crying in transcendental bliss. Again, when Lord Chaitanya beat Advaita Acharya for explaining Srimad Bhagavatam, personalist viewpoint opposed to the principles of Bhakti Yoga, Achyutananda was also present. Therefore, all these incidents must have occurred only 2 or 3 years before Lord Chaitanya accepted the sannyas order. As mentioned above in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Antya Kanda, chapter 1, it is stated that Achyutananda, the son of Advaita Acharya, offered his obeisances to the Lord. Therefore, it should be concluded that from the very beginning of his life, Achyutananda was a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Good. So well, just do you know what he's referring to here, where Lord Chaitanya exhibited his spiritual forms during his residence in Navadvip? What is that? What is that?
Was that his Sadbhuja form?
There was a Sadbhuja. He exhibited his Sadbhuja form, a couple of Sadbhuja forms to Lord Nityananda Prabhu, and another four-arm form and two-arm, of course, two-arm form. But that point doesn't, it was to Lord Nityananda. We don't hear it was to anybody else. So there were other spiritual forms. No?
Bhakta Mikey said,
When he revealed himself for 21 hours, the Gora Arti song.
Yeah, very good. Very good. The Mahaprakash or Mahabhava Prakash, he exhibited himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the source of incarnations. Yeah, very good. That's the Gaur Arti song, by the way. Jayo Jayo Gaura Chandana Arati Ko Shobha. Yeah, good. Okay. Next paragraph.
can you move it
Yeah,
down?
you can continue reading.
Okay. There is no information that Achyutananda ever married, but he is described as the biggest branch of the Advaita Acharya family. From a book named Shaka Niranyamrita, it is understood that Achyutananda was a disciple of Gadadhar Pandit, and that he took shelter of Lord Chaitanya in Jagannath Puri and engaged in devotional service. The Caitanya Caritamrita Adilila, chapter 10, states that Achyutananda, the son of Advaita Acharya, lived in Jagannath Puri, taking shelter of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gadadhar Pandit, in the last years of his life. Also lived with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath Puri. There is no doubt, therefore, that Achyutananda was a disciple of Pandit Gadadhar. In the accounts of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's dancing in front of the car during the Rath Yatra festival, Achyutananda's name is to be found many times. It is stated that in the party of Advaita Acharya from Shantipur, Achyutananda was dancing and others were singing. At that time, the boy was only 6 years old. Text 87 of the Gora Ganodesha Deepika, compiled by Sri Kavi Karnapura, describes Achyutananda as the disciple of Gadadhar Pandit and a great and dear devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. According to the opinion of some, he was an incarnation of Kartikeya, the son of Lord Shiva. And according to others, he was formerly the gopi named Achyuta. The Gora Ganodesh Deepika 88 supports both these opinions. Another book, Narottama Bilash, compiled by Sri Narahari Das, mentions Achyutananda's presence during the festival at Ketari. According to Sri Narahari Das, during the last days of his life, Achyutananda stayed in his house at Shantipur, but during the presence of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he lived at Jagannath Puri with Gadadhar Pandit.
Thank you. So this Keturi festival, that's where they were celebrating the first major or public observance of Gaur Purnima. That was about 50 years after Lord Chaitanya's disappearance. So then Achyutananda, son of Advaitacharya, must have been about 75, 80 years old at that time. Achyutananda, very nice. Text 18.
কৃষ্ণ মিশ্র নাম তার আচার্যতা নয়, চৈতন্য গোসাই বসে যাহার হৃদয়।
Krishna Mishra was a son of Advaita Acharya. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always sat in his house, in his heart. Purport. Oh, is Prananath still there?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yes.
Can you read this one?
Yes. Of the 6 sons of Advaita Acharya, 3, Achyutananda, Krishna Mishra, and Gopal Das, lived faithfully in the service of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Since Achyutananda did not accept a wife, he had no issue. The second son of Advaita Acharya, Krishna Mishra, had 2 sons, Raghunath Chakravarti and Dola Govinda. The descendants of Raghunatha still live in Shantipur, in the neighborhoods of Madan Gopal Pada, Ganakar, Mijapur, and Kumarakhali. Dola Govind had 3 sons, namely Chanda, Kandarpa, and Gopinath. The descendants of Kandarpa live in Malda, in the village Chikabadi. Gopinath had 3 sons, Sri Vallabha, Prana Vallabha, and Keshava. The descendants of Sri Vallabha live in the villages known as Masiyadhar, Mahishadera, Damukadiya, and Chandipur. There is a genealogical table for the family of Sri Vallabha, beginning from his eldest son, Ganga Narayan. The descendants of Sri Vallabha's youngest son, Ram Gopal, still live in Damukadiya, Chandipur, Solamari, and so on. The descendants of Prana Vallabha and Keshava live in Uthali. The son of Prana Vallabha was Ratneshwar, and his son was Krishna Rama, whose youngest son was Lakshmi Narayan. His son was Navakishore, and Navakishore's second son was Rama Mohana, whose eldest son was Jagabandhu, and whose third son, Veerachandra, accepted the sannyas order and established a deity of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Katwa. These two sons of Ram Mohan were known as Bada Prabhu and Chota Prabhu, and they inaugurated the circumambulation of Navadvip Dham. One may refer to the Vaishnava Manjusa for the complete genealogical table of Advaita Prabhu in the line of Krishna Mishra.
Thank you. So, would you like to refer to the Vaishnav Manjusa? Does anybody have that? What is that Vaishnav Manjusa? What is that?
Does it
Nobody?
give the genealogical tables of all these family members? Or all the Vaishnavas, I guess.
Ah, okay. Apparently, yeah, there's a genealogical table. So I was a little bit confused by that here in the purport. Srila Prabhupada says, you refer to this book, which I don't know where we can find it. But I looked around and I found in the Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Vaibhava a description of the Vaishnav Manjusha. Manjusha, the meaning of Manjusha is like a box, but it's usually meant as they use that word as meaning an encyclopedia about Vaishnav topics related to Sanatan Dharma. So the one of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's interests was that a Vaishnav encyclopedia be compiled. And his Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur began that work. Maybe in 1905 or so, he began collecting materials. Then in 1912, there was a big festival, a spiritual festival on the about the philosophy and practices of Vaishnavism and Gaudiya Vaishnavism, particularly in a place called Kashim Bajar. It's in Bengal, just north of Nadia district, Murshidabad district. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that was prior to his taking sannyas, went there. And there are many different caste Goswamis and others were there. So he didn't get a chance. They only allowed him to speak to a few minutes because his reputation was that he was not going to, he was against the Prakrita Sahajas and caste Goswamis. Many of them were there. So he stayed there for several days and he offered obeisances to everybody who was there, Dandavat. But he didn't get much of a chance to speak. So for the several days he was there, he fasted and then left. So it came to the attention of the sponsor, who was the king of the area, and he became unhappy, and he tried to persuade Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati to come back and take at least a little bit of food, prasad. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, if I can't teach, then why should I have any sustenance? Besides, the people who are offering the food, they don't understand who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So how is it that that food can be prasad? Oh, so he left. The king was disturbed about that. So 8 years later, he came to visit Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in Calcutta and begged him to come back and accept his service. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur went there with some disciples. And at that time, he asked, this was in 1920, he asked the king to sponsor or to finance the development and writing of a Vaishnav encyclopedia called Vaishnav Manjusha. And so he asked him to donate 3 lakhs of rupees for that purpose. And the king had said, yes, whatever you like, I'll do whatever. But then when he was asked to donate the 3 lakhs of rupees, he balked. He said, well, I can give you 300 rupees or 300 rupees every month. So, some of the information had been gathered ahead of time and some was gathered. So for about a year, the king sponsored some research into this Vaishnav Manjusha, but then stopped giving the support, the donations. So after that, the Vaishnav Manjusha was never published. But a few volumes of the collected material were published in about 1924, 1925. So this Vaishnav Manjusha was the desire of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and it was effort was put into it by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, but it was never completed. So apparently this is a desire of the previous acharyas, is that this Vaishnav Manjusha be presented. So that's a task that perhaps one of you might like to do, or perhaps it's already being done. I don't know. Do you know? Does anyone know? So the subject matters in the Vaishnav Manjusha were, in addition to the family lineages of prominent Vaishnavas, especially those who were close associates of Lord Chaitanya, understanding the details of the philosophy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as distinct from other adjusted or changed philosophies which had become prominent in by the followers of the Prakritya Sahajiyas, and also to reestablish the vocabulary, the proper vocabulary for talking about devotional service to Krishna. For example, one example that was given is it became a popular saying, work is worship. Have you ever heard of that? Work is worship. Yes. Manava Seva is Madhava Seva. Well, so Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, following the request of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, wrote a whole thing about how the use of the word seva has become misused and bastardized. Seva means in relation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not just your ordinary work. You're a Uber driver, software engineer. That's seva. No. It's related to service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that was an example of the type of thing, very specific vocabulary that he wanted to preserve in its proper understanding to include in this Vaishnav Manjusha. So then I was wondering, well, how is it here in this purport that it's the Vaishnav Manjusha you can consult? How is that? You understand the question? How is it here in this that you can consult it? Any guesses? Any thoughts?
Just refer to the one that is not completed. I mean, you said 2 or 3 volumes were published in. 1924.
So I was wondering about that. I thought perhaps that was correct. But so this whole part is a quotation or a translation of the commentary by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He wrote a commentary on Caitanya Caritamrita called Anubhashya. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote a commentary called Amrita Pravaha Bhashya. Anubhashya means following, Anubhashya. So, and when did Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur write his commentary on Caitanya Caritamrita? He finished it in 1916. So at that time, he was still intending to publish this Vaishnav Manjusha. So at that time, when he wrote this commentary, it was intended that it would be completed, although it never did get completed. So Srila Prabhupada is just translating Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's commentary from 1916. You follow? Does that make sense? Anyway, I thought it was a very interesting point. So if you like to follow and do any research, perhaps the followers of disciples of Bhakti Vikas Swami might be doing this. I don't know. Do you know that, Shashi Shekhar Prabhu?
At the moment, I do not know of anything of that nature being worked on.
Did you find out?
Sure. Yeah.
Because as you know, Bhakti Vikas Swami is very particular about the use of words. You know, he likes to very, very specific. Don't mess him up in his vocabulary, Vaishnava vocabulary. So this would be very interesting to know. Okay, just a side point. Prananath Prabhu, I see your hand.
Yes, Prabhuji, a question or clarification needed. So we see that in this purport, specifically only certain names or, not all the sons are listed. For example, for Prana Vallabhas, the second son was so and his lineage like that. Is there a particular, is that they are the prominent ones or only they were devotees? How do we understand this?
Yeah, I don't know. It could be that was the information that was available, or it could be, as you say, that they were prominent. I don't know. So, reading lineages, it doesn't seem like it's the most interesting thing because, there are all these names, but we don't have any persons or activities, descriptions of that to connect with them. But of course, these are the lineages of Advaita Acharya. So even though they're simply names, to know them or hear them is elevated because they're related to Lord Chaitanya and Advaita Acharya. So I don't know the answer to that question. Also, in the ninth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there are lineages of various of Lord Krishna's and Lord Ramchandra's predecessors, similar to these. And in the later cantos also, descriptions of the descendants of the Pandavas up to in Kali Yuga, up to the time when the Kuru dynasty becomes overthrown.
Okay, Prabhu, thank you.
Sorry, couldn't help you out that. Okay. Text 19.
শ্রী গোপাল নামে তাহার আচার্যের সুত, তাহার চরিত্র শুনো অত্যন্ত অদ্ভুত।
Sri Gopal was another son of Advaita Acharya Prabhu. Now hear about his characteristics, for they are all wonderful. Purport. As mentioned above, Sri Gopal was one of the three devoted sons of Advaita Acharya. He is further described in the Madhya Lila of Caitanya Caritamrita, chapter 12, verses 143 through 149, text 143 through 149. Text 20.
গুন্ডিচা মন্দিরে মহাপ্রভুর সম্মুখে কীর্তনে নর্তন করে বড় প্রেম সুখে।
When Lord Chaitanya personally cleansed the Gundicha Mandir in Jagannath Puri, Gopal danced in front of the Lord with great love and happiness. Purport. The Gundicha Mandir is situated in Jagannath Puri, and every year Jagannath, Balabhadra, and Subhadra come there from the Jagannath temple to stay for 8 days. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lived at Jagannath Puri every year, he personally cleansed this temple with his principal devotees. The Gundicha Marjana chapter of Caitanya Caritamrita Madhya 12 describes this vividly. So you know that there's two parts of the Ratha Yatra. You know this, perhaps. Mother Vindyavali, you know. Say something about that. No? You're on mute. No?
From Gundicha, they start. I don't know. They will be there in Gundicha. And Radhayatra, I don't know how to describe that. I attended that.
Oh, wow. Very nice.
Yeah, I was there.
So the first parade starts at the Jagannath temple
Yeah.
and travels to Gundicha down
Yeah.
the Boradanda. Lord Chaitanya went that way. Stays there for 8 days. So
Come.
the Jagannath temple is a symbolic of what place?
Kurukshetra.
Dwaraka. Very elaborate. You could say, but very elaborate, royal, opulent worship. And the Gundicha temple is that's Vrindavan, yeah. So this was the residents of Vrindavan taking Lord Krishna from his opulent place and along with Lord Balaram and Subhadra Maharani to Vrindavan, staying there for 8 days. Gundicha is a smaller temple, intimate, and so staying there. And then after that, the servants of Lakshmi come and attack the servants of Lord Jagannath and make sure that Lord Jagannath comes back to Dwarka. That's and so there's another parade 8 days later where they go from Gundicha back to the Jagannath temple. So actually, when Srila Prabhupada the first big Rath Yatra festival in New York City was 1976. Srila Prabhupada said at that time, there should be 2 parades. You know that? He said, and the next year, actually, in 1977, we did have 2 parades. We went one down, and they rented some place for Lord Jagannath to stay, and then went back from Washington Square Park to Central Park, and had another festival in Central Park after the parade up that went up 6th Avenue instead of 5th Avenue, down 5th Avenue, up 6th Avenue. So that was an interesting point. Okay, text 21.
নানা ভাবোদ্গম দেহে অদ্ভুত নর্তন দুই গোসাই হরি বলে আনন্দিত মন
While Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Advaita Prabhu chanted the Hare Krishna mantra and danced, there were various ecstatic symptoms in their bodies, and their minds were very pleased.
নাচিতে নাচিতে গোপাল হইল মূর্ছিত ঘুমেতে পড়িল দেহে নাহিক সম্বিত
While all of them danced, Gopal, dancing and dancing, fainted and fell to the ground unconscious.
দুঃখিত হইলা আচার্য পুত্র কোলে লইয়া রক্ষা করেন সিংহে মন্ত্র পড়িয়া
Advaita Acharya Prabhu became very unhappy. Taking his son on his lap, he began to chant the Nrsinga mantra for his protection.
নানা মন্ত্র পড়েন আচার্য না হয় চেতন আচার্যে দুঃখ বৈষ্ণব করেন ক্রন্দন
Advaita Acharya chanted various mantras, but Gopal did not come to consciousness. Thus all the Vaishnavas present cried in sorrow at his plight.
তবে মহাপ্রভু তার হৃদয় হস্ত ধরি উঠো গোপাল কইল বল হরি হরি
Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then put his hand on the chest of Gopal and told him, "My dear Gopal, get up and chant the holy name of the Lord."
উঠিল গোপাল প্রভুর স্পর্শ ধ্বনি শুনি আনন্দিত হইয়া সবে করে হরিধ্বনি
When he heard this sound and felt the touch of the Lord, Gopal immediately got up and all the Vaishnavas chanted the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in jubilation.
আচার্যের আর পুত্র শ্রী বলরাম আর পুত্র স্বরূপ শাখা জগদীশ নাম
The other sons of Advaita Acharya were Sri Balaram, Swarup, and Jagadish. Purport. The Sanskrit book Advaita Charita states that Balaram, Swarup, and Jagadish were the fourth, fifth, and sixth sons of Advaita Acharya. Therefore, Sri Advaita Acharya had six sons. Balaram, Swarup, and Jagadish, being Smartas or Mayavadis, were rejected by Vaishnav society. Sometimes Mayavadis posed themselves as Vaishnavas or worshippers of Lord Vishnu. But actually, they do not believe in Lord Vishnu as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for they consider demigods like Lord Shiva, Durga, the Sun God, and Ganesh equal to him. They are generally known as Panchopashaka Smartas, and one should not count them among the Vaishnavas. Balaram had 3 wives and 9 sons. The youngest son of his first wife was known as Madhusudana Goswami. He took the title Bhattacharya and accepted the path of the Smarta or Mayavad philosophy. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur notes that the son of Goswami Bhattacharya, Sri Radha Raman Goswami Bhattacharya, refused the title Goswami because it is generally meant for sannyasis, those who have taken the renounced order of life. One who is still in those who have taken the renounced order of life. One who is still in family life should not misuse the title Goswami. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur did not recognize the caste Goswamis because they were not in the line of the 6 Goswamis in the renounced order, who are direct disciples of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Srila Sanatan Goswami, Srila Bhatta Raghunath Goswami, Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that the Grihastha ashram, or the status of family life, is a sort of concession for sense gratification. Therefore, a Grihastha should not falsely adopt the title Goswami. The ISKCON movement has never conferred the title Goswami upon a householder. Although all the sannyasis we have initiated in ISKCON are young, we have awarded them the titles of the renounced order of life, Shami and Goswami, because they have completely dedicated their lives to preach the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur mentions that not only do the householder caste Goswamis disrespect the title Goswami, but also, following the principles of the Smarta Raghunandana, they exhibit great foolishness by burning a straw image of Advaita Acharya in a Shrad ceremony, thus acting like Rakshasas and disrespecting the Hari Bhakti Vilas, which is the guide for Vaishnavas. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that sometimes these Smarta caste Goswamis write books on Vaishnava philosophy or commentaries on the original scriptures, but a pure devotee should cautiously avoid them. Oh. So this practice of burning a straw image of Advaita Acharya, we don't find it anywhere in the Hari Bhakti Vilas. And it said, Shruti, Smriti, Puranadi, Pancharatriki Vidim Vina, Aikantiki Harer Bhaktir, Utpatai Aiva Kalpate. Supposed religious activities or devotional service, which is not according to the Shruti, the Vedas, Smriti, those Smritis like the Puranas or Mahabharata, Ramayana, Puranadi, or the Pancharatra, they, if it's not according to them, it just becomes utpatai. Utpatai means a disturbance in society. So this is a disturbance here. It seems though, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, even though one of the sons that his descendant is not accepting the Goswami title, he's giving him a little credit for doing that, even though he's in the Smarta teachings, following the Smarta teachings. One point also mentioned is that oftentimes it's not unusual that people who are actually impersonalists, they like to talk about bhakti. They'll say, oh, bhakti is the best thing. Bhakti is the best thing. You need bhakti, people need to have bhakti. And then they'll say, and it doesn't matter. Take any Param Shakti. So you can have bhakti to Krishna, bhakti to Ram, bhakti to Kali, bhakti to Shiva, bhakti to Durga, bhakti. So that's actually not at all the understanding of bhakti. Bhakti specifically means to our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Somebody was saying that somebody was discussing with Srila Prabhupada this point, and he said, well, can't you have bhakti to Shiva or Kali or Durga? And Srila Prabhupada's response was, well, usually if someone is going to a liquor shop, why are they going? Why?
For the
So,
liquor.
yeah. So usually people are going to approach the demigods. It's not bhakti, it's for business. Give me this, give me that. What do I want? What do I want? So he emphasized, and the person appreciated this point, that bhakti is something different than that business of going to the deity or supposed deity, asking for something as a result of your puja. Bhakti is the affair of the heart. Yes. Comments, questions, discussion? Okay.
কমলাকান্ত বিশ্বাস নাম আচার্য কিঙ্কর, আচার্য ব্যবহার সব তাহার গোচর।
Advaita Acharya's very confidential servant named Kamalakanta Vishwas knew all the dealings of Advaita Acharya. Purport. The name Kamalakananda mentioned in the Adi Lila 10:149 and the name Kamalakanta mentioned in Madhya Lila 10:94 both refer to the same man. Kamalakanta, a very confidential servant of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, born in a Brahmin family, engaged in the service of Sri Advaita Acharya as his secretary. When Paramananda Puri went from Navadvip to Jagannath Puri, he took Kamalakanta Vishwas with him, and they both went to see Lord Chaitanya at Jagannath Puri. It is mentioned in the Madhya Lila 10:94 that one of the devotees of Lord Chaitanya, the Brahmin, Kamalakanta, went with Paramananda Puri to Jagannath Puri.
নীলাচলে দেহ এক পত্রিকা লিখিয়া প্রতাপ রুদ্রের পাশ দিল পাঠাইয়া।
When Kamalakanta Vishwas was in Jagannath Puri, he sent a note through someone to Maharaj Prataparudra.
সেই পুত্রের কথা আচার্য নাহি জানে, কোন পাকে সেই পুত্রী আইল প্রভু স্থানে।
No one knew of that note, but somehow or other it reached the hands of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu.
সেই পুত্রীতে লেখা আছে এই তো লিখন, ঈশ্বর রত্তে আচার্যেরে করিয়াছে স্থাপন।
That note established Advaita Acharya as an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
কিন্তু তার দৈবে কিছু হইয়াছে ঋণ, ঋণ শোধিবারে চাহি টঙ্কা 103।
But it also mentioned that Advaita Acharya had recently incurred a debt of about 300 rupees that Kamalakanta Vishvash wanted to liquidate.
পত্র পড়িয়া প্রভুর মনে মনে হইল দুঃখ, বাহিরা আইসে কিছু বলে চন্দ্রমুখ।
Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became unhappy upon reading the note, although his face still shone as brightly as the moon. Thus, smiling, he spoke as follows.
আচার্যের স্থাপিয়াছে কহিয়া ঈশ্বর, ইথে দোষ নাহি আচার্য দ্বৈত ঈশ্বর।
He has established Advaita Acharya as an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is nothing wrong in this, for he is indeed the Lord himself.
ঈশ্বরের দৈন করে করিয়াছে ভিক্ষা, অতএব দণ্ড করিয়ে করাইব শিক্ষা।
But he has made the incarnation of Godhead a poverty-stricken beggar. Therefore, I shall punish him in order to correct him. Purport. To describe a man as an incarnation of God or Narayan, and at the same time present him as poverty-stricken is contradictory and is the greatest offense. The Mayavadi philosophers engaged in the missionary work of spoiling the Vedic culture by preaching that everyone is God, describe a poverty-stricken man as Daridra Narayan or Poor Narayan. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never accepted such foolish and unauthorized ideas. He strictly warned, Mayavadi Bhashya Shunane Hoy Sarvanash. Anyone who follows the principles of Mayavad philosophy is certainly doomed. Such a fool needs to be reformed by punishment. Although it is contradictory to say that the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his incarnation is poverty-stricken, we find in the revealed scriptures that when the Lord incarnated as Vaman, he begged some land from Maharaj Bali. Everyone knows, however, that Vaman Dev was not at all poverty-stricken. His begging for Maharaj Bali was a device to favor him. When Maharaj Bali actually gave the land, Vamana Dev exhibited his all-powerful position by covering the three worlds with 3 steps. One should not accept the so-called Daridra Narayans as incarnations because they are completely unable to show the opulence of the genuine incarnations of God. So you understand this point? We'll stop here. But so what was Lord Chaitanya's criticism of Kamalakanta Vishwas? Say, who says? Somebody say. Nobody? Come on, you're not following?
His opposition was about the Daridra Narayan addressing of the all opulent Lord.
Yeah, well, on one hand, he's saying Advaita Acharya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then he's sending a note to Maharaj Parudra, who's the king there. So please, can you liquidate this debt because saying that he's like he needs help with his finances. So how can you have both things together, right? So putting Advaita Acharya in the position of a debtor. So I'm going to give you homework now. Are you ready for some homework? I won't grade it, but next time I'll ask you, if you were in the position of Kamalakanta Vishwas, you were the personal secretary of Advaitacharya or any incarnation of God, and there was apparently a debt, what would you do? Okay. You follow? Do you understand the question? I'll ask you next time. Okay.
Yeah, so the video will be there on YouTube. I think we will have to go back several times. And
It's just so the Lord Chaitanya was unhappy about this. His appeal to Maharaj Prataparudra on behalf of Advaitacharya. So how could he have done it differently? Or should he have done it differently? Or is this just like a transcendental pastime that's, those kinds of things? So I'd like to hear your opinions or your thoughts on this next time, if you can think about it a little bit, and how that might be applied in other circumstances. All right. Thank you very much. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyo vachapatitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo.
Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namaste Vaishnavinda ki jai.
Thank you, Vishnugada Prabhu.
Thank you.